Hey there, vinyl community. Yeah, I'm gonna try to do this "Sad Bastards" vinyl tag. I was recommended for it by Sound of Minder, great channel, and so I had thought about doing it before earlier because it seemed like a lot of folks were doing it. And I kind of just kept putting it off. So it kind of motivated me. So I appreciate that. And anyway, so let's jump into it. The first question was an overplayed sad song, and when I hear overplayed, the first the first place I go is I think of this band, the Beatles, and this is the only Beatle album I own is the White Album. And yeah, so I would say sad song like Blackbird, I think is on here, and and other songs. This is actually I actually think this is a pretty good record, um, and I enjoy it on a rare occasion. But as far as like overplayed stuff, I would say overplayed. I think of the Beatles right away. That's just for me. Um, the number two question: listen to an album. Oh, and somebody ran in and says this is a what is this sad song? So that actually happened to me. I was playing this record. This is Freakwater, kind of Appalachian country Appalachian vibe about it. They're on Thrill Jockey, and I was playing this, and somebody I was living with at the time, and they came in. They said, what is that? What is that? It's a lot of their songs are, yeah, they tend to be sad. They're Appalachian folk, really sung from the point of view very much of like kind of working class aspirations and lifestyle. And they stay pretty pure to that, and I think they're really talented band. And but a lot of their songs can be fairly depressing, but they're very poignant and I think really touch on subject matters that we don't hear touched on very often. And I think they do a great job of that. Their first, four or five records are just, really stellar. And this might be my favorite. But so there's that. Next would be number three, sad album. But it's a party to you. So a sad album that isn't sad to you, and this isn't really a sad album, but this is what it made me think of anyway. This is Our Favorite Shop by the Style Council. 80s kind of, this is after the Jam, Paul Weller former Style Council. They were like kind of a blue-eyed soul. I wasn't a huge fan or anything, but this record was one I bought. It was one of the first CDs I ever bought when CDs were really hot, and I was pretty young. And it's a very political record, and the stories are all kind of sad and downbeat, but it's got a jumpiness of the music. There's a kind of almost Motown upbeat aspect of it. And there's a lot of talk about families and hard times and what they were going through. And kind of for the album, they're describing kind of the Thatcher years in England when austerity was put into effect and millions of people suffered all over the country as a result of it. But it's a sad record, but it's one that just has a really good vibe to me, and just feels almost has like a holiday vibe to me, to me. So others may your mileage may vary, but that's kind of my thought on that. Number four was this was a pretty easy one for me to pick. It was a love song that's very sad, and that's I think most people recognize that album. And there's a song on here called Stella Mars, and it's a song about two how do I even describe it? Kind of it's a fever dream of a song about two lovers who um, keep missing each other in this kind of like in the real world and then in kind of their dream world, um, and they keep passing each other by and just missing each other, and while one's over here the other one's over there. And to me the song is about like, sometimes the impossibility of love and the impossibility of trying to have that kind of depth of relationships in the world that we live in, that we just keep missing it just by a thread sometimes. And they're a great record, but Stella Mars, there's an English version for you English speakers out there like me. There is an English version, but the German version is really, you can feel it just works on another level. And you can read along with it in English, so you can understand what it's about. But that's the version this is a great record, and that's it's a beautiful song, and it just chokes me whenever I hear it. And yeah, so there's that one. That's what, number 4. Number 5 was your favorite lyric in a song. This will be another one. I think this is a little bit people won't expect this, but as far as like a sad lyric, I think I picked 2 albums for this. But the first one that came to mind was Johnny Thunder, and who's not somebody you normally think of for lyrics or even a kind of sensitive, sad aspect to him. Certainly his life had a sad aspects to it, but we don't really think of him in terms of that kind of self-realization. And I think he's a much more complex guy and person than he's given kind of credit for. On this album, there's a song called "You Can't Put Your Arms Around a Memory," which, if you're going to know a Johnny Thunder song, that's probably the one people will know. And I think the lyric is incredibly insightful and incredibly sensitive, and really tells us something about trying to capture those memories. That's just or feelings. It's just so impossible to do. And so yeah, great song, great album too. But that song in particular really, I think, very sad. And then knowing a little bit about his life and his story adds to the kind of overall sadness of it, that he just never was like one. They used to say that Thunder was always, one of those guys who was snatching defeat from the jaws of victory, who had several really huge opportunities in his career to thrive, financially or commercially, and just never was able to kind of. And that is something that he wanted, but just was never able to really to make it happen. And so it adds to the songs, I think, the delivery of the song, that he a realization that he knew he couldn't grab it, he couldn't grasp it. So yeah, so Johnny Thunder. The other song that I thought of, that's not really again, it's not really a love song, but on Gil Scott, on this record, he does a song called "Home Is Where the Hate Is," and to me, it was kind of like talking about like this idea of a love song or a sensitive song. It really kind of, I think, pointed out. People are always talking about family values, and yet we know that so much, terrible things can happen within that structure, that family unit. And I think this song on here points that out in a way that it doesn't get talked about very often. If you look into the statistics of where a lot of abuse happens and where a lot of bad things happen, it usually happens very close to the family. And so this idea of family values or of families being kind of the, you know, the ultimate safe place, you got to realize that for many people, it's not. And it's an important realization. Okay, so the next was favorite. Favorite Smith song. I know I have my Smith albums out. Thought I had it right here. Okay, favorite Smith. My favorite Smith song is kind of it's on this album, Strange Ways, and the song is "Girlfriend in a Coma." And it's always just been my favorite Smith's track. This is a good. I think that if none of the Smiths albums are overlooked or anything, but this is one I think that sometimes, at least in the States, doesn't get recognition, and it's a great record. But "Girlfriend in a Coma" was just it's funny, and it's telling a bit of a story too, and I think it's Morrissey and Mars at their very best. So there's that. Saddest song ever, or saddest lyric ever. It would be this album. This was another easy one for me because this is a real life situation that I went through. I had a really good buddy who was my best friend, and he was a great guy and really struggled with substance abuse issues, and he was successful and from a financial point of view, and came from a family of means, and yet he struggled with alcoholism. Even when we were, I didn't really recognize it until we got a little bit older. And there's a song on an album that I remember when I heard it for the first time. I don't think I'm the biggest Kristofferson fan, but there's a song on this album called "The Pilgrim," and the song is all about someone who there's a line in it that says, cashing in tomorrow for today. And that's what my buddy was always guilty of doing, always guilty of worrying about today and not worrying about tomorrow. And in some ways he lived because of that kind of idea, he did live an exciting life and had a lot of good times. And it talks about that in the song, about how, that sometimes people don't regret that they were happy that they had the good times that they had. And yet it is heartbreaking because they end up, kind of alone and desolate. And that very much was the truth about my buddy. A great song, and for me, heartbreaking whenever I hear it. I can't say I listen to it very often because it so describes him that it just kills me. And so, but yeah, great song. Okay, the next one was, I tried to write some of these down. Tear in My Beer song. This one made me think of, there's a couple, you think of country music songs. Well, I thought of, this is a great covers album by Mark Lanegan. And I think it's really, there's some songs on here. Quite a few of them have a kind of country, feel to them or influence to them. There's a song on here called "I'll Take Care of You," which is also the name of the album. "I'll Take Care of You." And to me, this song is so sad because while he's pledging that he'll take care of this woman who's down and out and been hurt and afraid to invest herself emotionally. But if you listen to the song and the way he sings it, what he's really singing about is himself and his hurt and his pain, and it's almost a plea, even though he's vowing to protect this person and not hurt them. It's really a plea for them to not hurt him, and it's a complex lyric and handled by Lanegan like the amazing vocalist that he was. And this is a great record, probably my favorite covers record of all time right here. And usually a covers record, to me is not the place to start with most people, but this album just really hits the spot. And that song in particular, I think, is very complex in its in its nature, and the lyric, which on the surface of it maybe seems simple, in the hands of Mark Lanegan, I think there's another layer there of complexity in the delivery. So, yeah, a great record. Next was soundtrack, sad soundtrack. And I thought about this one. This one was hard for me. I don't really have a sad soundtrack. I tried to justify some soundtracks that I do like a lot. They were scary, maybe, but not really so sad in a certain sense. But there is an album that's very cinematic that is very kind of sad and cinematic, and it's this one right here. This is a great album. This was an interesting band. They called this death jazz. These are very slow songs. This album I like more than some of their other ones. The playing is focused a little bit more, as the title would suggest, on piano. And for whatever reason, this record just really hit a spot for me. And it's very sad and very melancholy, extremely slow. And all those things kind of combine to create this really morose, sad atmosphere. But then at the same time, very, it draws you into it. And there is a little bit of creepiness, of spookiness in it too. So, yeah, this is going to have to pass as my soundtrack. I think this album is still available, and if you're inclined, it's a beautiful record, and one I really love. Okay, so there's one. The next one was the snappiest, song that you can. I think I passed one up too. I'll do that one next. But the next one was number 11 was the snappiest, corniest bullshit song that you can think of, and man, there's a lot of them. But this artist and these songs to me just exemplified all of that, bullshit, snappy corniness to song in the worst kind of way, and that's Phil Collins. And I'm sorry, I know a lot of people like him. I when I was kind of growing up, preteen, and those songs were all over the radio. Songs like I think I wrote "Against All Odds." Oh my God, "Groovy Kind of Love," another horrible bullshit song. There's a really bad one called. It's not a ballad, but there's one called "Illegal Aliens," which is the most. Go watch the video. It's what a horrible, horrible song, and it just ugly to me, ugly and corny, and just what a complete waste. And yet these songs were everywhere, all over the radio. You couldn't turn on the radio in the late '80s or in the mid '80s and not hear these horrible songs all over the radio. That's just my personal opinion. If you like Phil Collins, that's fantastic. No worries. There was another question earlier. I think I passed it up um, about the lyric, sad lyric of a song. And sorry for jumping all over like this, but I don't want to have to redo the video. Um, and I thought of this this song from uh, from Or. Great record, but there's a song on here called um, "Weighted Down," and "Weighted Down" is just has this really sad lyric, um, and you can feel the weight of all of our burden, but in this particular Spence, um, you can feel that burden that he felt, and in the lyric of the song. And I think it's beautiful, but amazingly sad. And just the title alone, "Weighted Down," and then you can hear it in the way he sings it, and he's just pulled down by the concerns of the world and that we all have. I mean, it's kind of universal, and yet very, very individualistic also. So a great record. By the way, not an original. This is a reissue that I managed to grab. Would love to have an original of this, but they've become kind of ridiculously expensive. So yeah, that's that should fit for that category. As far as like the last uh, thing of suggesting somebody else, there's a few people I would suggest. I'd love to see Dead Wax's Randy's take on it. I don't know if he would do one. Stunty would be a really interesting to see his take on some of these. I'm sure he would give us a really unique and refreshing point of view on some of these too. If either one of those gentlemen would be interested in doing it, I don't know that they would be, but that would be cool. But anyway, this was fun to kind of look over some of this music, and thanks Sound of Minder for kind of recommending me for it. And if you haven't checked out his channel and you're watching this video now, please go over and check it out. He's got a great channel and has a really unique take on some really great music. So thanks, folks, and I guess we'll see you next time.